Welcome to part 6 of the East Asian world. Now we're going to take a look at the Manchu Conquest. The Manchu were a conglomeration of northern tribes, Jurchen tribes, who were consolidated under a man named Nuhachi. He lived from 1558 to 1626, right? He called this collection of Jurchen the Manchu, okay? His son was Huang Tai Chi. Huang Tai Chi is going to rule until 1643, and he's going to build a strong Chinese-style government north of the Great Wall. Okay, this new Chinese-style government he creates, he'll call Manchuria. Okay, now in 1629, the Manchu began raiding along the perimeter, along the area of the Ming Dynasty on the Shandong province, not too awfully far from Beijing, right? While this began happening here in 1629, the Ming Dynasty was really unable to appropriately respond to this because they were also dealing with rebellions internally. 2 years prior to this, in 1627, you're going to have a rebellion that's going to break out in a couple of northwestern provinces of Shaanxi and Shaanxi, right? These provinces were under incredible turmoil. There had been a series of droughts that had left many to starve. Citizens in that region had resorted to eating tree bark or even cannibalism in order to survive. And so when they were ordered in 1627 to build forces to resist the Manchus north of the wall, instead they rebelled. They were led by a man named Li Zicheng. Li Zicheng is going to build an army himself and begin moving out of the Shaanxi province and into the interior of the Ming dynasty itself. Okay, as a rebel leader, he's going to go deeper and deeper into Ming territory, and his army is going to continue to grow. As a matter of fact, his army will reach a number of over 1 million soldiers. Okay, so in 1642, as this progressed, in 1642, Li is actually going to create what he'll call the Shun dynasty, but he's going to be really careful not to declare himself emperor. Okay. The following year, in 1643, the Shun army is going to turn what is now northeastward and move on towards Beijing, right? They'll capture the city. The Ming emperor, Ming Chongqing, is going to find himself trapped in the Forbidden City. He's going to see him with no recourse. He's completely trapped in there as Beijing has been captured by this rebel force led by Li. And so on the 25th of April, 1644, the Chongqing emperor hangs himself, right, inside the Forbidden City, and the Ming Dynasty itself is effectively over. Now, while this is all going on, we still have the issue of the Manchu, right, to the north, 190 miles north, in fact. And by the time of the fall of Beijing to Li's army, the Manchu army is at a place called Shanhaiguan Pass. And Shanhaiguan Pass, that is where the Great Wall actually meets the ocean, right? And it's at this position that you have a local warlord, still loyal to the Ming, by the name of Wu Sangui. Wu Sangui is put in a really difficult position. So you have the Shun dynasty now, which has taken Beijing. The emperor is dead. And remember, Li was very careful not to declare himself as having obtained the mandate of heaven, so he hasn't declared himself emperor. But you still have the Ming royal house, which still claims to have the mandate of heaven. So the question becomes, which side should he support? Should he support Li and the Shun dynasty, which is occupying and holding Beijing, or should he support the remnants of the Ming imperial house? Well, Li will actually make this answer easy for him by making a critical mistake. Word is going to reach Wu Sangui that Li had executed his father. And once word reaches Wu that his father has been killed by Li. Well, it's pretty obvious where he's going to side now. It's with the barbarians to the north. The Manchu leader, Huang Taichi, dies in September of 1643. And what he'll do is he'll leave the throne to his young son, but he'll appoint his brother, because his son was so young, Prince Dorgon will be appointed as the regent to the young prince. Okay. Now, Wu is going to ask Prince Dorgon to come through with the Manchu banner forces and help remove Li from Beijing, right, in response to Li murdering Wu's father. Okay, and the agreement made by Wu and Prince Dorgon was that Dorgon would come through, help get the Shun dynasty out of Beijing, and then they would be allowed to loot Beijing to their heart's content, and then they were to return back to Manchuria. Now, Prince Dorgon's got other plans. He is going to quickly come in through the pass there. He is going to go into, and he's going to take the city of Beijing, and then afterwards he has no intention of leaving. Matter of fact, he'll issue this statement. He'll say, "The empire is not an individual's private enterprise. Whosoever possesses virtue holds it. The army and people are not an individual's private army and people. Whosoever possesses virtue commands them. Now we hold it. We took revenge upon the enemy of your ruler father in place of your dynasty. We burned our bridges behind us. We have pledged not to return until every bandit is destroyed. In the counties, districts, and locales that we pass through, all those who shave their heads and surrender, opening their gates to welcome us, will be given rank and reward, retaining their wealth and nobility for generations. But if there are those who resist us disobediently, then when our grand army arrives, the stones themselves will be set ablaze, and everyone will be massacred." And as Prince Dorgon went through the northern half of the Ming dynasty, he pretty much did exactly that. Every place he went to, that they opened the doors to them, he treated generously, and anyone that he resist, he brutally crushed, right? Most Ming rulers were disorganized and acquiesced to Prince Dorgon and Manchu rule. Others that did resist, they suffered some consequences. Like, for example, a Ming general stubbornly tried to defend the wealthy city of Yangzhou. Yangzhou will be pillaged. Prince Dorgon is going to set his army loose there for 5 days. Their army was allowed to pillage, burn, and rape at will with no fear of repercussion for 5 full days, right? Some of the Ming elite actually committed suicide rather than submit to Manchu rule. By the time everything was complete and Prince Dorgon and his forces had moved south, the Manchu had established a ruling Manchu minority that was in charge of a Chinese majority, had adopted the Chinese style of government. Again, they had Sinicized and created what will be called the Qing dynasty.